Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, everyone? Milkard, you struggling a little bit? What's up, Noxel? What's up, Panook? Damn, I almost choked on my water. How's everyone doing? What's up, Cindy? What's up, Vocode? Hey, Artnerd. Yeah, sometimes you have to type !leave first to be able to join. It's Friday, so we're doing Feedback Fridays today. I'm playing a little bit of catch up at the moment, but yeah, sorry about not being online yesterday, or I guess maybe apologizing probably isn't the most responsible way to approach that. I guess there's something to apologize for. It was out of our control. But anyways, we're back, and yeah, we're doing Feedback Fridays. Hopefully, y'all got some bangers for me to listen to. Eli 9K watched the Forza trailer the other day and got so hyped. Hell yeah, makes me happy to hear that. Yeah, it was a really cool opportunity that came my way through the Monster Cat squad. So, yeah, shout out to them for that one. How many years have I been working with them now? It's kind of crazy. I mean, there was a good chunk of time where I wasn't releasing with them. And let's see. I think my first song with them was 2013. So 13 years, dude, 13 years? That's crazy. That's some people's entire lifespan on Earth. That's how long I've been working with Monster Cat. Anyways, all right. Let's get to it, y'all. Let's see what you got cooking. Switch over to the main view here. Don't mind me. I am kind of exporting some stems at the moment, so my piano is unavailable. Actually, give me one quick second here. I'm going to finish exporting. It's literally the last stem I need to export here. For top secret project. Actually has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with Haywyre at all. So, no reason to really address it. Let's render. Oh, whoops. One sec. I gotta turn off a couple effects here. Let's see. Rate my song. Oh, I will. Give me a quick moment here. Reverb, delay, echoes. Okay. This will take 2 seconds. Delay. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Sorry about this, y'all. I just had to render something. Okay, we're back in action. Let's get to it. Cool. Let's see what you got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people here today. I think Hex Benjamin sent me a small fix the other day for this raffle system. Delayed greeting. I hope you
delayed greeting. Oh, I hope you and the Fanassi are well. And baby and Link.
Fanassi. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Doing better today. You know what? I'm going to take a quick second here to respond to her. She's doing better. It's still not great, but she decided to go to work, which given how intense some of her symptoms were yesterday, I was not super comfortable with. So I've been trying to check in on her periodically and see if she's doing all right. All right. Sorry about that. Anyways, yeah, she's doing better today. But yeah, Hex Benjamin sent me something that I think he mentioned was going to help with the giveaways, but it's been a pretty wild last few days, so I did not get to that, unfortunately. So we still have the old system here. I'll take a look at what it is that he sent me for before the next Feedback Friday stream. So let's choose a winner here and see what we're working with. I could reword it as one. Junie, you know I have a third cat as well, right? I don't know if I've mentioned that before, but I have a third cat called Bill, but it's a she. I forget. It's because she just was only responding to male names or something like that for some weird reason. So one of these days, Bill is by far the shyest out of the three of them. So I don't think I could ever bring her into the room. Mrs. Bill. Okay, so let's choose a winner and let's get this party started. What's up, LGJ? You got something for us to listen to? Can we have a redeem button for all the cats? Well, Link maybe, but I'm telling you, Bill, she's very skittish. I mean, she's comfortable around me now, but it took some time. And she doesn't really let you carry her. Like, baby, you can basically, he just trusts you a lot more. Bill is a little different. She doesn't like being carried. She doesn't like being, unless she's really comfortable and you don't move, she won't really snuggle up to you or anything like that. Okay, first track of the day. This is looks like a bootleg remix from LGG of the new John Summit track. I haven't heard the OG yet, so let's check it out. Cool. I really like it. I think the only part I've heard of the original is the vocal and the like polyphonic synth thing, this like distorted saw wave type thing. It's really cool. I like it a lot. I feel like I'd have to hear the original too to kind of like put it into context. I'm not sure exactly what it is that you took from the original and what you didn't. aside from like the synth and some of the vocal. It looks like maybe you had someone add some vocals. Yeah, I that's what I'm guessing. So Bass Ventura is the vocalist. You got to add some vocals, which sound great, by the way. I think like the attitude and the energy it brings is nice. It fits really well. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like a tape B type of vibe, you know, with like this you know, this kind of that kind of sound design where you got like this combination of dubstep and trap with these rapped vocals on top. It definitely gives me a little bit of a tape B vibe in some ways, and like peekaboo and like all that kind of stuff. It's really sick. So I like it a lot. I don't really have much to say, to be honest. The structure is good. I think the production is good. Yeah, I mean, maybe part of it is because I'm a little bit, my brain has not been concerned about anything music related for the last like, I don't know, a couple of days because of some personal stuff that came up. So maybe I'm not like locked in enough yet to really come up with too much feedback at the moment, but it's gotta say something if I'm not really thinking of much that I feel like needs to be addressed. I like it a lot. I guess let me just take another quick listen to the first drop.
Man, I need strobes and wavers, all the bros and lasers. I'm sweating in my shorts and trainers, car with the real movers and shakers. Detached from the matrix, hold up, that's the thing that pays us. So tonight I spend my wages, man, I'm chasing pure elevation.
So I think actually like I think for me actually the one thing that I think could have maybe been changed a little bit, I feel like the bass line is almost a little too busy. I think some more sustained notes here and there would have been nice. Let me listen to the bass line again from the beginning. Hold on.
Man, I need strobes and wavers, all the bros and lasers. I'm sweating.
So it's like ba 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 boom ba. It's like already quite a bit of movement for a bass line, which is cool. But it's also happening at the same time as these rap like vocals are distorted rap vocals are coming on. So I think maybe that's part of the reason why I'm feeling some conflict there, because you're kind of asking the listener to start digesting these two very busy elements at the same time. So yeah, that's one thing I would point out, is that like it would have been nice to have the complexity of the amount of notes that the bass line is hitting kind of reduced a bit. Let's check out the second drop again as well. Yeah, all the different patches and the sound design I think is cool. It's interesting here, I think, because there are no vocals on top of it, a lot of the fills and things like become much easier to digest. You know, you could even get away with more if you wanted to here, versus like in comparison to the first drop. I feel like the first drop actually is almost busier, mostly in terms of like the amount of pitch movement in the sub. But yeah, it's just an observation. Do with that what you will. Overall, really great tune. It's a good bootleg. I feel like if Summit heard this, he would like it. I do want to listen to the original, but I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to waste your guys' time. So I'll check that out another time. Try to dip around 400 hertz to make more space for the vocal. Yeah, no, I think like I would say from a mixing perspective, they don't feel like they're conflicting, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not competing, right? Just because, you know, you've made enough room in that frequency range for the vocals to come through. You know, it's kind of like if you were to make a dip in the drums in the same area to let the vocals go through, but then you just had like a blast beat in the drums, like of course that would be distracting, right? Because it's just like, whoa, that rhythm is a lot to process while trying to pay attention to the vocals at the same time. So I guess it just matters on like what the priority, the hierarchy is. Kind of like, I think the biggest thing for me is like the energy, and that's there. And then the second thing from there, I feel like the vocal, which is kind of like part of communicating the energy, but like, you know, all the rhythmic changes and hearing some of the phonetics and the words that are coming through. And like, I think naturally you want to be able to pay attention to that because, yeah, it's a human voice. So we're drawn to that. But that's just a little bit hard to do with the amount of bass movement. But yeah, really cool tune. Thanks for sharing. Let's move on to the next person. What's up, Atrian? What you got for us today? We got a new follower. Yo, thank you for the follow. Sammy, I'm just gonna call you Sammy. I appreciate it. All right, we'll give you another minute of grace. Atrian. Atri. I'm gonna try to think of all the different ways I can pronounce your name for the next 40 seconds. Atrixon. Oh, okay, never mind. We got a link, y'all. Let's do it. Love that photo. Vibing. We're vibing. Okay, very sick. I was going to try to briefly check out. I haven't actually done this before. I should probably have done this before today, but I was going to try throwing an EQ on my virtual routing, the internal routing, just to check something out. But yeah, anyways, really cool idea. Lots of energy, there's lots of unpredictability. Structure is good. Really gentle, kind of like vibey intro. You don't know exactly how the track's going to develop. Is it going somewhere chill, somewhere heavy? And obviously goes somewhere pretty damn heavy. So yeah, some really cool stuff going on. I think that there's a few things that stood out to me. If I were to like start nitpicking on things, because overall I think you got a lot of great stuff going on. I think that yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into it because I can't really think of any like major problems overall. I think maybe like mix wise, there's some stuff in the mids going on that I feel like is a bit overkill. I think that I can't tell you exactly which frequency range, but kind of like the upper mids to mid mids, like I was gonna let me actually try to play something again real quick and see if it plays, if you can see it on this EQ here. It's okay. That's actually kind of cool. I might start using this during Feedback Fridays. But anyways, I think that for me, that range around 2K does kind of feel a bit too much. I don't listen to extremely heavy like dubstep much these days, or color bass or future bass, or much music in that kind of area. So it might be that my ears have become like desensitized to how aggressive that genre is. I know there's tons of music that's way like more distorted, way more aggressive, but that's just how I feel. I think it could be like a little bit cleaner. And subscriber, yo, what's up, Eidolon? Thank you for the sub. We're stimming and streaming. What is stimming anyways? I think I've seen that word used, and I don't know what stimming is. But anyways, back to the track. So why am I getting these RNMS notifications? Another thing I was going to point out, so one thing that I love when listening to somebody like Space Laces, for example, is he does something really well, which is even when he's creating energy through like this weird Foley laser kind of stuff, where it's not like a more defined like synthesized sound with like a clear fundamental and a clear like pitch, he still has low end in there to kind of like carry the weight, bring a lot of weight to these sounds. And I noticed there were a few moments where you had a pretty like important rhythm playing with like some laser zaps or something, and there's no low end in it, which I feel like I think is kind of important. Let me try to give you an example. So you have this kind of like fake out build thing here, which is really cool. Right there. Like this section here, you have this really cool, this thing going on. It kind of comes back a couple times here and there. And I feel like, it could be a creative choice to say like, all right, let's not have the sub going 24/7, which like I can totally understand. But to me, it kind of felt like it's doing more than just a fill. Like that feels like an actual like baseline riff, the way it's being used. So I'll go back again 1 second. It's not just happening for like a beat. That's happening for several beats. So I think it's big enough to warrant like having some low end matching that kind of rhythm. Yeah, that was just like a random little small thing that I noticed. But yeah, other than that, it's really just I think for me, I would prefer it if it was like kind of just toned, like reined in a little bit from a mixed perspective. It sounds great. Like there's not necessarily anything that I feel like totally is not working. I get the space that it's in. So like I said, I understand like that's where a lot of the energy comes from is from like the mix kind of like feeling like really part of the messiness brings that energy, right? Like, so I think it's a good thing, but I think you could still rein it in a little bit more. So that's all I got for you. It's a really cool track. I hope you finish it. I was noticing that the low end is lacking. I'll admit I'm not using a separate sub in the song. That's totally fine. I'm not hearing any difference through the stream, but I'm following. Okay. Weird. I don't know why that wouldn't. I'll check into that, but okay. Anyways, thanks for sharing. Let's move on to the next person. Martin, I'm going to sue you for using that name. Because that's how you know you're a true American. You sue anyone, sue everything. I'll sue myself. I pay myself $10 billion because, yeah, that's cool. Anyways, what do we got here? This is Space Rush Kraken. Let's listen to this.
Yeah. Life slow, but my chains stay bright. Talk tough, but you're out by night. Man try swing, but his aim not right. Now the whole crew laugh, yeah the vibe ignite. We cracking, never lacking, whole block snapping. Bassline slapping, speaker straight clapping. Skirt wheel it back in, crowd all tapping. Hey, when we step in the place, it's cracking, 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 cracking. When we step in the place. Come let's get it cracking. When we step in the place, it's cracking, 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 cracking.
One time like this, make it pop like this.
Skirt wheel it back in.
Make it pop this.
When we step in the place, it's cracking, 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 cracking. Yeah, it's cracking. Storm through doors, no invite needed. Beat so raw, got the floor overheated. Spit so cold, man, the mic got freezed. Flows too sick, doctor sees it. Skank in the pit, energy's violent. Drums go mad, bassline silent. One more drop, crowd move in silence. Then boom, bring the sirens. We cracking, never lacking. Whole block snapping, bassline slapping. Speaker straight clapping. Skirt wheel it back in, crowd all tapping. Hey, when we step in the place, it's cracking, 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 cracking. Drop, crowd move in silence. Then boom, bring the sirens. Scotty, come let's get it cracking. Bassline slapping.
Very sick. Cool, man. I haven't heard of you before. Space Rush. Really like this tune. I will say the first drop was probably my favorite out of all the drops. I know you got kind of like this additional post-drop section here. That's cool. Double Time is cool. But yeah, overall, just a good tune. I am curious. I see you don't have like a vocalist mentioned here, so I'm guessing this is like a splice vocal or something like that, which is totally fine. But I was just curious because like the vocals obviously a big part of the track, but I think we gotta do follow up. Yo, what's up, official A&M? Official A&M. Sorry, I had to like double check what the hell I'm reading. But my brain is not working too great today. I'm sorry, y'all. But anyways, it's a really great tune, man. Let's listen to that first drop again for a moment because that was sick.
Scotty, come let's get it cracking.
That is sick, man. Yeah, I'm super partial to that drop. I really like it. I think one of the things that's cool is you have obviously the vocal repeating, and then you have this kind of yeah, you're playing around with these bass patches in the low end that are adding a lot of the weight that you want without kind of I think interfering with that vocal chop. So really well done. There's a lot of cool stuff going on here, a lot of great energy. So I think like the structure, like arrangement, it definitely keeps your interest going the whole time. You're switching things up a lot, lots of like builds and drops and fake outs, and so the arrangement I think is working good. I had some thoughts, like I'm thinking a little bit about the mix down at the moment. So I understand it's a demo, but how do I say this? It feels like at times some sounds that you would expect to stay more consistent in terms of their dynamic range in certain frequency areas. Some sounds I think need to stay more consistent, I think, in terms of their presence in the mix. I think the first drop, I didn't really have many issues with that. I did notice there's kind of like this transient that seems to hit sometimes, and it's strange. It doesn't seem to happen with every kick drum, so maybe it's some kind of like sound effect that's sometimes like adding this extra transient on top of the kick. It's not necessarily like a bad thing. It does kind of just slightly take you out of the flow. I feel like I like it a bit more when the drums don't switch up too much in terms of their impact in a drop. I feel like it's really helpful to have like a more consistent like leveled out approach for EDM drop drums, but it's really subtle. It's not a big thing. Like right there, that kick drum, like that one there, I heard it again. But yeah, it's not a huge problem. But I think if you do keep it there, I understand why you might have put it there. If you do keep it, maybe just tone it down a little bit.
When we step in the place, it's cracking.
So I'm trying to think about like these build sections. I think that the mix here, something tells me that the mix here could benefit from a little bit of adjustment. And listen, I don't make a ton of EDM these days. I do make some, and I'm not some expert mixing engineer. But one thing I noticed from listening to EDM that I do really like in the last few years is that I used to associate a lot of the perceived impact for EDM. I feel like most people think of the low end. They think like, yeah, that's the bass, which is kind of true. But one thing I noticed when I was like analyzing some of Skrillex's tracks from his Quest for Fire, that album specifically, because the mix downs are so good on there. It's like this perfect blend of, the clarity you hear in pop music, but with, gritty sound design, lots of like the energy you'd expect from an artist like Skrillex. And I feel like he just hit the perfect balance, in my opinion, on that album with a lot of tracks. And one thing I noticed is that a lot of the low end and the high end was fairly consistent throughout the track. Actually, where most of the energy came from, this is just my takeaway. It was from the mids. Like the mids are like the beef and the meat of where a lot of the energy was coming from. And I feel like sometimes there's a lot of different mixed down approaches, obviously, to EDM. At the end of the day, most of the time, you do just kind of want the entire spectrum being spoken for in most genres, That's kind of a lot of the point of it. But I think that in some of these builds, long story short, you might benefit by cutting some of the mids from some of these sounds, like some of the bass sounds, and even just something really gentle could actually make a big difference. Because obviously EDM, even especially in EDM, I think, but probably in most genres, I say specifically EDM because, you're brick walling that master. I mean, that thing is going, bust out Pro L and you go like plus 30 dB, which is an exaggeration, but you know what I'm saying? Like people, that's what people do with EDM. And so even a small little dip in one area means that everything else compensates. So, it kind of like can really affect a song pretty dramatically. So I'm just thinking like, maybe try what I'm saying out. I don't know if that will help, but the only other thing I have to share about your track, by the way, I went on this really big random tangent there, but if we go to this double time section here,
Baseline slapping.
So, in theory, it feels like this should have a lot more energy than I think it actually does. And I think part of that is because of the sidechain. I think that the sidechain settings, if I'm not mistaken, they feel like they're kind of more tuned to the halftime. So my impression is you still have a fairly long release on the sidechain here that fits great in the halftime section, but doesn't really sound quite as good here when you're doing double time of the drums. So my recommendation would be to experiment with some shorter release times on your sidechain here, or if you're doing something like, a LFO tool or things like that, I would, just try different shapes, shorter ones. Yeah, that's kind of all I have. But one sec, one other thing here. Okay, it sounds like the kick drum is also the same from the first drop, which it's not that I think it works. I wonder, given the tempo change, it's not, obviously the BPM technically stays the same, but because everything is double time, I wonder if a slightly shorter kick drum could help too. It's not particularly long as is, but it could be worth experimenting with as well. That's all I got for you. It's a really cool tune. That's definitely one of the better like EDM drops I've heard on my Feedback Friday. So thanks for sharing. But yeah, all right, let's keep moving, y'all. Hell yeah. Lots of good energy there. What's up, Noxel? What you got for us? Let me take a second here and switch project files so I can get my piano out. All right. What you got for us, Noxel? Here's a pretty advanced sketch versus Feel But Empty. Planning to add vocals with Hottie. Oh, sick. You're going to do something with Hottie. Nice. Do you think it lacks contrast? Any ideas? Let's check it out. So this is Horizon. Watch the... Hell yeah. Yeah, Noxel has been helping out, by the way, with the Haywyre VOD channel. He's started doing these Haywyre rewinds, and they're going to start happening once a month. And it sounds like, you know, he's going to drop the next one tomorrow. So make sure to check that out, and let him know, let us know if you like that style of format. All right, let's check this out. Horizon by Noxel. Breakcore. Oh, switch up. Lots of good stuff happening here. I appreciate hearing you. I appreciate you experimenting a bit more with kind of like your approach to, mixing and drums. I can really tell that you're, you're getting out of your comfort zone more now, compared to some of the last few sketches I heard. So I think that's great, man. Flexing different muscles, and kind of like expanding your toolbox. So I can definitely see that. The thing is, like, your arrangement and your composition, I don't think has ever really been there have been no issues there, So as per usual, like I feel like your arrangement is nice. You've got a lot of like variety and contrast between the different sections in terms of, sound design, and that's like drums and synths and also like compositionally too. You're kind of like switching up some of the chord progressions here and there. It keeps you interested. I will say, from my personal tastes, a lot of the melodic riffs you have in there feel more like it's kind of like there's different purposes to melodies and riffs, right? Like some melodies are purposefully like structured to feel like a main melody, right? Like something that feels like it could be sung, and maybe you're kind of singing it in your head anyways. You're like singing it along with the song, something like that. It follows patterns that a voice would follow, right? And then there's other types of melodies too, which are kind of like counter melodies, or more like supplemental melodies, or like a melody that you have like a secondary melody that's happening underneath a main melody, something like that. There's a lot of different ways of approaching melodic writing, but I think that the melodic stuff you have going on, all of it feels more secondary, because a lot of the riffs, for example, like one of the main riffs you have in here, right, is for me it feels like a little bit more of a secondary kind of level. If you think of it like from everything from this is definitely not a main melody all the way up to this is like the main melody for any given song, it feels like it's a little bit closer to like the middle, where it's like it's definitely a melody, but it's not. It doesn't have those like singing characteristics and such that bring it to kind of the forefront of the like experience as a listener, in terms of like, what do you sing back or something like that, right? So I'm not saying that that's necessarily like the most important quality to shoot for in a song, but that being said, I just think that there's room for you to have something that feels more like a main melody in the song at some point. And you were asking about contrast. I think that's actually one of the things that really brings more joy to these other kinds of melodic writing, where okay, let me just give you an example. I don't know the exact chord progression for the song, but it's like it's something like the G major to E flat major, and then F major, I think. Okay, just take something simple like that, right? It has already like a little bit more of a melodic feel, because some of those jumps obviously are challenging, but a lot of the notes, for example, are kind of like sequential. They're stepping like half notes and semitones, and in key, obviously, at the end of the day. But that kind of like step-like movement is obviously a big part of making a melody feel a little bit more vocal in quality. What's up, Pinkbane? Thank you for the follow. But then the thing that happens, at least for me, when I hear stuff like that, it's like, okay, that sounds like a melody. And then when you hear something like, for example, one of these more supplemental-esque, like secondary melodies you have, I forgot exactly what it was, sorry. But then suddenly that feels like it gives it more context, right? Okay, and then I'm like, you're hearing that, like, that, hold on, let me remind myself what it was that you were playing. So in my mind, So it's like in my mind, putting those two right next to each other like that, it gives it a lot of context. It gives it kind of like this escalation and de-escalation. You feel these different steps from a compositional point. That it's heightening when you hear the main melody, and you're like, oh, there's something to this. I feel like I can sing this along, and I do think that it can be a really powerful quality to have in your music. So that's one of the big things I'll say, just kind of from a compositional standpoint, but it doesn't have to be there. I just think that it could be really helpful. Then the only other thing I was going to say, again, I really love that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. The drums sound good. I mean, even if you're relying, let's say, on sample packs, which, I mean, everyone does anyways, but I do think that it's benefiting your mixes quite a bit. So I think that's good. One thing I noticed is that your low end, and sometimes your mix is suffering a little bit in some really specific ways. So it's sometimes I notice the low end feels a little, it sounds like it's kind of being boosted a bit too much. So like. So, okay, here, for example, you have this little, dum, 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 right? That thing sounds pretty good. But listen to that, this drop here. Definitely has, there's some potential to kind of like tone down some of those low mids for this sound. It feels like it's kind of straining the limiter a tiny bit. So obviously I'm pinpointing and kind of nitpicking here a little bit, but another thing I'll say too is that one of the downsides of kind of relying, let's say, on loops. So for example, like here, when you have a lot of elements and you're trying to sidechain stuff based on a loop, there's different approaches. You could have like a MIDI trigger that's triggering sidechain, and then you match that to the rhythm of your loop. You could do that. But I noticed that like when things are starting to get a bit busier, that it feels like some of the sidechain is not quite locked in those areas. So like, and that can kind of create some conflicts. And unfortunately, when things are being limited really heavily, and element like the low end isn't being sidechained a bit more intensely, then you can run into these kind of like little mix problems, distortion and that kind of stuff. So I would just watch out for that. But that's all I got for you, man. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. And I really like I'm a sucker for these kind of like kind of borrowed chord major things. But yeah, anyways, that's all I got for you, Noxel. It's really cool to see what you're working on. He likes her track, bro. The Koan sound drums, gotcha, yeah. And that's right, you're gonna get Hottie to sing, so that makes a lot of sense. I forgot that you mentioned that. So anyways, you can pretty much ignore what I was saying about the vocal stuff and the melodic work. If you're gonna have a vocalist on here, that's a totally different deal. So yeah. Hope you have an update for us soon. Let's roll on to the next person. What's up, Hottie? Are you gonna send us the same track now? I'm just playing. What you got? All right, look at this. Gorgeous. Got the link ready instantly. It's amazing. Every pyramid in its right place. Radiohead cover. Let's listen to it. Banger track. The original, that is. Kind of crazy how much it's exploded on social media. kind of trippy. I thought it was in an odd time signature of some kind, but when I counted it, it sounded more like it was actually the writing that was tricking me into thinking, like the vocal writing, it's tricking me into thinking that it sounds like it is actually just 4/4. I thought maybe there was some extra or like omitted beats in there somewhere, but I don't think so. Ah, okay, I see. So you're basically like creating a mix of these two different songs into one. Cool idea. Very sick. I like it. So I didn't quite understand what you were doing at first. Sounds like you're basically mashing up the original, like, or sorry, your remix of the Radiohead cover with another original of yours, which is a cool idea. I like it. I like your piece, and then I also like your rendition of the Radiohead cover. You know, at times it was giving me like John was it Hopkins? John Hopkins vibes a little bit. This guy's sick. If you don't know his music, he's got some incredible like, here, I'll just play you something real quick. Like Emerald Rush is a really great track. It's not the best example I know because, well, the vibe isn't the perfect match. But the thing that I saw a similarity with was, like, if you listen through more of his stuff, there's kind of this feeling that you don't know where the downbeat is, and yet you can still keep predicting that four to the floor vibe happening. So it kind of reminded me of some of his work in that sense. And also, like, a lot of the writing is quite mysterious, and emotional, sentimental, and introspective. And so there's some similarities there. If you don't know him, I would check him out. But either way, lots of good stuff going on. I think that my biggest, if I'm trying to think of like my biggest bit of feedback for this, the writing's great. You know, I don't have an issue with the writing. The arrangement is quite long because you're combining two songs, right? So you do have an 8-minute piece here. So it's a journey, and it's a good one. It takes some time to get to the Radiohead portion of it, and it does fit into the same kind of like world as your piece, so that works. I think one thing I'd love to for you to think about. Actually, I have another reference for you. I don't know. You might listen to Ben Bomer, but he has a very gentle kind of like progressive house, like melodic house style that's quite unique, and it's his mixdowns are very simple but very effective, and I think that if I were to like pinpoint one thing where I would love to hear more refinement and more attention to detail is just the mix, because like I think that's really those last few percentage points in a song can be such a make or break thing for me, at least. Maybe it's not the case in general, but like as somebody that's been in the industry for a long time, I love hearing tracks that truly have that level of polish that makes a song extremely satisfying to listen to. So like maybe that's more of like an audiophile's dream, but to be fair, like with music that is a bit more introspective, I think by nature, like you're asking people to come and get more intimate with their relationship to your music, and I think that it's possible that kind of music is more listened to on headphones and things like that. I could be totally wrong on that, but like regardless, I think that might be an area that maybe there's a little bit of room for extra polish. I think that honestly, just all the typical stuff, it can be hard to focus on those things, but isolating like all those frequency ranges, comparing sides to mids for individual tracks, for the master, for groups, like doing all that kind of like homework, and then also maybe a little bit of referencing to like some other artists, and just trying to get a feel for like where your music falls in comparison to some of those, which I'm sure a lot of that, if not all of it, you already do. But I would just encourage you to maybe do a little bit more of that, and that's all I got. I mean, there's nothing that stands out to me, by the way, in the mix is like, whoa, this is totally out of place. So I'm not saying it in that sense. It's more about that tiny little bit of extra refinement that I think would really bring this track to like a really polished level. But I really like it. Thank you for sharing. Also, it is 4 to the floor, right? I'm not tripping, because I counted. So I had 3 measures of 4/4 and then 1 measure of 3/4, but then that was followed by 3 measures of 4/4 and 1 measure of 5/4. So they kind of balanced each other out. So in the end, it equated to the equivalent of like just a bunch of 4/4. But I don't know. I'm curious to hear the verdict on that. I honestly have no idea about the time signature. Okay, fair enough. That totally makes sense. And honestly, that's the best way to do it, right? If you are just enjoying writing something and it happens to be an odd time signature, then so be it. You know, that's what I like to do. Sometimes it can be fun to force it, but I feel like when it comes natural, that's the best. Cool, let's move on. What's up, Josta? What you got? Quick heads up, y'all. I am going to keep listening to tracks here until 3 p.m. my time, so that's another like 45 minutes or so. But I'm super behind on a bunch of things, so I apologize, but gonna be wrapping up in about 40, 45 minutes or so. This is For Us by Joestar. Cool. Love it. Yeah, I saw what you were saying about the direction. I'd agree. It has a little bit more of a poppier feel than some of your other stuff. But I like the general kind of like vocal chop focused, down tempo, housey kind of feel. There's some cool stuff going on. I am a sucker for like R&B vocal chops, so that's cool. I think there are some times where the pitch movement of the chop feels a little questionable, like it's all getting out of key at times. So I would consider, if you have something like Melodyne, that would be really powerful for trying to like make sure that some of the pitch movements are in key. And I don't know, some of it might just be because of the original take, whatever the sample's from. Maybe that's baked into the sample. But that being said, regardless, it might be nice to edit it in a way where like you're making sure that it's in key. I mean, the degree to which that happens is totally up to you, of course. But I think just a little bit, nudging it a little bit further into key at times would be nice. Overall, obviously, you can't really tell it gets out of key that much. But there are some moments. Yeah, the other thing is, let's take a look. I think like... like right there, this is it sounds like you have the vocal chop layer, and then there's some kind of distorted additional layer of that vocal kind of happening in unison. But if you listen to that first vocal hit there, it sounds like they're, instead of playing unison, they're playing a one of them is a half step off. So it's a major seventh instead of an octave that they're doing. If you just listen to that first vocal note on the offbeat here, you'll hear it. It looks like they're kind of moving separately at times, and that's kind of cool. But I think the intention in general from you seems to be to have them playing in unison or in octaves. So I would be careful with how you're when you're deciding to have them go in different routes pitch wise. At the end of phrases, that's probably totally fine. But especially for that first note, I'd imagine you want them to be the same pitch, or at the or an octave apart, whatever. They should be playing the same note, whichever octave they're in. And that's my take on that, at least. And then let's keep moving here. Yeah, so the chord progression here, the D minor, G, A minor, and then the B flat major. That's kind of like the main groove here, right? And then you kind of switch things up here. So if you're going to ask me, my preference is, when you have a song that's already structured in a like fairly, for the lack of a better word, like consumer-friendly way, I like to think of the chord progression as a pretty big part of what makes a chorus or a drop. And, we gotta do follow-up. What's up, Musicado Brazil? Thanks for the follow. What I'm trying to say is that when I approach, if I were to approach like the arrangement for something like this, I would try to keep like alternate arrangements for the chord progression in a bridge-like setting where and then later on, after you've repeated that many times. Wait, what's the chord progression here again? So what I would do is I would use this chord progression as a bridge to come back to the first drops chord progression. That's what I'm trying to get at. So you'd go and then go to the bridge. And then back to the original. Because the reality is, I think for a listener, you're being exposed to the first time you're hearing that vocal chop riff is with that chord progression. So the main association is that it's that chord progression, the D minor, G minor, A minor, B flat major with that riff. And that's kind of like, for me at least, that's how I experience it, is like, oh, okay, that my association, because when you think about it, pop music as a whole is just a bunch of pentatonic stuff. Like, you could have a bajillion chord progressions underneath pretty much any pop line in existence. And, but the point is more so that, like, when you think of the chord progression that is most associated with a pop song, it is the original main one, the first one that you're exposed to, right? In my opinion, at least, So that's kind of why I'm trying to apply that philosophy here, because like you can reharm the hell out of any vocal top line and bring it into a bajillion different keys, tempos and vibes, but it's still a variation. It still feels just like a variation because your first exposure and impression of that top line is with a certain chord progression at a certain tempo. But yeah, anyways, I'm just blabbering at this point, so you get my point. I would just treat this chord progression more as a bridge, and then find a creative way to bring it back into the original vibe. That's all I got. But just try it out. You know, don't take my word for it. Just give it a shot if you want to see. Yo, Hottie, thank you for the sub. I really appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for sharing, man. I shall move on to the next song. Good luck with the EP and finishing this track, Josa. What's up, Vocode? I already like your name, so your music must be amazing. All right, let's check it out. This is Holding You by Vocoding. Or Vocode, sorry. Wait, you recognize that progression art, nerd? Because that is an unreleased idea of mine. Maybe I played it on stream at some point. Cool. I really like it. It's very upbeat, and yeah, it's a cool idea. I think generally speaking, the arrangement is good. You know, I think you have a lot of good transitions. A lot of the sound selection, the sound design is pretty solid. I think that what I feel like I'm missing most in this idea is a more convincing mix down. And, you know, I really think that It's kind of weird sometimes talking about music in these separate categories, talking about it from like, composition, arrangement, all these things at the end of the day are very much overlapping, of course. You can't really tear one aspect of these tracks out from the song and still be left with something. So it's kind of weird sometimes trying to like look at it just from a certain standpoint, but that's kind of what you have to do, I think, is to try to separate things a little bit, look at certain things. I think that really, especially in EDM, one of the things, there's a lot of things that kind of help differentiate one artist from another, and people can fit very comfortably within a very overpopulated, oversaturated genre and still have like this really unique voice in that space. And I think one of the reasons why that can happen is because of creative mix down choices. So like you could have this forgive me, I don't know exactly what genre this would fit in. It feels kind of like trance house, like something along those lines.
We gotta do follow-up.
Thanks for the follow, Nune. But I think one of the things that really separates some of the more unique voices in EDM, it's not about who has the weirdest time signatures, or like it's not always about who's got the craziest sound design, because like at this point when you think about it, for sure there are like of course there are still sounds that feel like they're new and exciting, having been in the industry for some time now, not as long as others, but like I feel like for the most part I don't really hear much sound design that I feel like I haven't heard before, and that's not necessarily always the case. But my point is more so that like a lot of parts of these genres in the electronic music space, they're very formulaic, and so the areas where your voice comes through as an artist is limited in a different way. It's not about the chord progression. I mean, let's be real, most electronic music, a lot of it doesn't even have chord progressions. Some of it is literally just like a single note or like two notes. And then some of it does have chord progressions, but like most of the time, the most complex it gets is like some kind of like 4-chord thing. So, most of the time you take those things out of the equation. And so I think one of the major ways in which your voice can be, your tunes can be separated from other people's is definitely like your mix down choices. And I bring that up because like I think a lot of your sound design is cool. There's some good switch ups happening, and I like the energy. I like the vibe, but I think that the mix down is lacking a bit, and it feels a little kind of like messy at the moment. So let's take another listen real quick to some of it. And given I don't really listen to music that's in this space very much, so take that into account here. But I'm a little confused, for example, by the side chaining. There are moments where it feels like it's happening too intensely, or it just, I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it. But it gets a little confusing. And side chaining is obviously really important in electronic music, but I feel like it's really important to be able to still hear the most important aspects of a track at all times, even with pretty severe side chaining. And with the vocal, obviously the vocal's coming through okay. I feel like I'm just a little bit underwhelmed by just the mix as a whole. It just feels like a little bit more attention to detail in all the individual sounds. So like one thing I do sometimes, it's a super common technique for just getting a quick perspective on how different sounds are sounding. Because sometimes like you get so focused on, like fleshing out your idea, you don't really listen to individual layers. So what can help sometimes is solo or mute everything and then start unmuting tracks one at a time and start noticing when certain problems seem to arise in the mix. And I forget to do this all the time, and then honestly, pretty much every time I do it in a track where I haven't really been paying much attention to the mix, it tends to reveal something that was in the song that I didn't like, that I wasn't really fully aware, like consciously aware that it was there. Because when you're listening to everything at once, it's much harder to pinpoint where different qualities are coming from, where maybe certain clashing frequencies or excessive sidechain or XYZ is coming from. So I would definitely recommend just trying to own in on some of these layers and trying to understand if the relationship they're having is exactly what you want, and it's producing the results you want in the mix or not. But yeah, that's kind of like my main gripe with this. Everything else I don't have an issue with. And yeah, that's my biggest thing. It's a cool idea. I think it's got a good vibe. It's got like this, like, yeah, it's kind of upbeat, trancey. It's not quite speed house level speed, right? It's probably like 130 BPM, or is it faster than that? I guess it could be like adjacent to that genre. But anyways, that's all I got for you. Hopefully, like melodic techno. Okay, I can see that. Yeah. 140. Damn. Okay, that is pretty fast. But sweet. All right, man. Thanks for sharing. Let's keep moving. Official Anim. What's going on? Didn't you just follow me today? Followed an hour ago. It literally says it right there. So recently, yeah, of course, Vocode. No problem. Recently, I think I mentioned this. I watched, they were showing Lord of the Rings at my local theater. We watched the Twin Towers, I think is what it was called. And it was so trippy. I don't know if any of you guys, some of you are as old as me, I believe. And you know, we grew up in the early era of the internet, right? You guys remember some of the first memes or like viral YouTube videos you'd ever seen? Because watching Twin Towers was hilarious from that perspective, because there was like the oh my god, there's the meme that went viral on, what was it, E-Bombs World, we're taking the hobbits to Isengard, and do you guys ever see the other one with like the potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, boy. Oh my god, dude, it's getting old is weird, man. It's weird. But looks like Official Anim is AFK, so we're gonna re-roll. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Potatoes. What's up, Haywyre? You got a song for us to listen to? Nice, ready to go. Let's check this out. Orlando Bloom singing along to that clip is legendary. Yeah. All right. Well done, Drifter by Haywyre. I don't know why I'm getting like a little bit of a like Pokemon battle vibe at the end here. I think it's maybe like the I forget what's that genre of music. Oh yeah, funk. I still don't really know fully what's considered funk because like it's pretty much just that like cowbell fifths with like I don't know. It's just that one sound, right? I don't understand how that's a genre, but either way, it's a cool idea. I think you got some good stuff going here, and I can hear the potential. It feels a little bit rough around the edges at the moment. You're missing, I think, a lot of potential ear candy and little details that can make songs really fun to listen to. Those are things that I really like to look for in songs is like, Foley work and soundscaping and world building type things where it really feels like you're being drawn into a certain like aesthetic. And some of that I'm getting for sure. It's like especially here, like some of these sections here definitely feels very the dryness it feels very reminiscent of I don't know why. I don't have the best terminology for this, but it does feel kind of like some kind of like old school video game energy, because like a lot of like chiptune and just like really old school video game music does have that unnatural dryness where there's no, you're not in a room listening to a band. It's just literally like just digital music, and I think that like that's one of the main characteristics of it, is that like intense dryness. And so like I can kind of like get some of that vibe here, but then at times there's like aesthetically like some stuff that feels like it's conflicting with that. Obviously you have like this lead instrument there with like a lot of reverb and echo and stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to have a song that's leaning into this kind of funk, dryness that feels like some kind of old school video game, because of like there being all this like dead space, there's literally no reverb and no delay and stuff like that. I feel like you would lean into that more versus like also trying to add these things that feel like they're I don't know, maybe that's not a fair way to critique it, but like I feel like you should just lean into that more, into the dryness, or alternatively you can just try to do more soundscaping and do more Foley work and have more embellishments and more details. It all depends on the purpose at the end of the day. We all make music for different reasons, and hey, I mean, at the end of the day, like there's so many different ways to be successful. If you're just making stuff, you're having fun, that's a form of success, and it's probably arguably the most important form of success when it comes to like expressing yourself in any kind of art form. But anyways, I really like the idea. There's some good stuff going on here. I also get some like Freddie Dredd vibes, I don't know if maybe that is an influence at all. But yeah, I think without some kind of vocal or something like that, it does fall a little short from having, some of that Freddie Dredd energy and stuff. But another thing I would say too is like this melody here, it does feel very disjointed. It feels kind of like something that was just programmed in MIDI, which is okay. It's not a problem. And it just feels kind of random, I prefer if there was like a little bit more of a structure to it. And, I'm a keyboard player, right? So like I might be a little more traditional in that sense. Like I like to hear melodies that are, melodically like mimicking what maybe a vocalist would do, or what a pianist or a guitarist would do. And people do some cool ass shit with just MIDI and no instruments at all. So it's not like that's not possible, but that's just kind of like the style I tend to go for. So I just thought it was a little bit disjointed and could have had a little bit more structure, but that's all I got for you. I really like a lot of the stuff going on here. There's definitely a lot of interesting choices that grab your attention, but it did feel a little like we gotta do follow up. It was just missing some of the detail and some of the attention to detail and a lot of the things that I look for in music I really enjoy. It was missing some of that. But thanks for sharing, Tideria. Really appreciate it. What's up, I'm Vice? What you got for us? It's 2:50, so I got like 10 minutes left. Appreciate the feedback. Thanks so much. Yeah. And another disclaimer, y'all. I know I say this like all the time. I don't want to sound like a broken record or beat a dead horse, but like one of the most beautiful things about being artists and making music is like we don't have to listen to anyone. You don't have to listen to me when I give you feedback on a track you're working on. So like I get it, it's Feedback Fridays. We're here to listen to tunes, and I try to do my best to say things that are hopefully helpful. But listen, I don't know you guys on a really deeply personal level. I don't know exactly what your goals are. I'm just going off of what I like, what I know, and what I would do if I were somehow involved in working on these songs with you guys. So, you don't have to listen to me, but I'm still gonna speak my mind, and yeah. So you need to send me the private link, by the way. I'm Vice. You sent me a public link and it didn't open up. Just a heads up. Happens all the time. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no worries. And also, another reason why I say that too is because like a lot of the times people like to kind of pretend a little bit like they know what they're doing. And in some industries, that's more true than others. Like in the music industry, you truly never know. Like you have no, especially now, like that there may have been more predictability in the industry, but like these days, man, who knows? You could literally upload some random shitty video of you playing a little riff on a keyboard, and next thing you know, it's going viral on social media because it matches a particular vibe for a certain kind of slideshow, like that's like about reminiscing what it was like growing up in the 90s or something. And then that audio is going viral. Next thing you know, you have all these people looking up your song, and then your streaming explodes. I mean, there's tons of examples of this. There's somebody like Dorian Concept. He had this little bit of audio that was like really kind of ethereal and dreamy and kind of this weird synthetic quality to it. And I mean, it's been years of people using his audio all over. And you just never know, there's many different ways to reach people. And it doesn't always have to be in the form of like this, like really polished, song that's meant for like a streaming experience or a concert experience. There's like so many ways to reach people now. So anyways, I'm just saying, like, people like to act like they know what they're doing in the industry, maybe in life in general, and like really none of us really know. We're all taking stabs at like, oh, this seems to work, that seems to work, and like I don't know, I'm 34 years old. I bet a lot of the things that I think about music feel outdated and irrelevant to people that are like 15 years younger than me, right? So realistically, maybe I'm not the person you should be listening to. But maybe I am. Who knows? Don't stop coming to my Feedback Fridays. Just being honest. All right, let's check this out. This is Mid Fidelity After Hours by Mid Fidelity. Cool. Very relaxing idea. It's got like a little bit of a jack swing kind of feel to it almost. It doesn't have that typical gated snare. It's giving me like definitely giving me like Sega vibes a little bit. I'm trying to think about like what to suggest. It feels like it depends on what you'd like to see done with this, because the vibe is there. And I think mix wise, it's quite easy to listen to. There's nothing that feels like super out of place, which is, I think, probably one of the most important things to look for with, really any music. And there's no noise that like happens. So it's like, whoa, that is way too loud, or that feels like it's ruining, the vibe, or like taking me out of the zone. So those are all good things. I'd say it's a very consistent kind of vibe, which, there's not a ton of variation, let's say, in terms of like, look at it from like a percussion standpoint, right? Like the drums are pretty much there from beginning to end. There's not really a ton of variation there. Maybe there's some areas where like the drums are omitted briefly or something like that. But for the most part, that little shuffle is there the whole time. And you got the little piano melody or something like that, I would say one thing I could suggest is that it feels, so you're in C minor. You have this chord that happens at the beginning of this kind of like phrase or of the head, whatever you want to call it. In jazz, the head is kind of like essentially the main melody of a song. And so I think that terminology maybe it's used in other genres too. But either way, to me, it feels like, I'm just going to use that word here for now, but you have a C minor sharp six happening. Sometimes, normally in a C minor, you'd have a flat six. And there are times where you kind of go back and forth between this and the more traditional, I think you have a C minor 9 happening sometimes. And often with the C minor 9, it's kind of more implied that you're in a more standard minor key, traditional like Aeolian. But with the it's technically still possible. I don't know. My thought was that the vibe is just very different. Like if you're emphasizing that A instead of the A flat, it's just got a little bit of a different like emotional kind of quality to it than this. This is a little bit kind of like it's kind of smooth and a little bit more gentle and interesting, maybe mysterious. And then this is more like, this one's more like, like kind of like James Bondy mysterious, and a little bit more like there's something like spooky and secret and weird going on, right? But either way, I feel like they have very different emotional qualities, and so at times it felt weird to kind of use them interchangeably. Let me try to find an example. See, I think that was actually exactly what I was talking about. It starts off like this, and then it goes to the A flat major, and then it goes to the C major 9, which is totally fine. It's not a huge deal, but I pay attention to stuff like that because I do think that those all the different modes and stuff, they convey very different emotions, and they're adjacent to each other. It's not like they don't work at all. But if you were in this like a more Dorian mode, let's say you're like in C Dorian, right? Technically, if you wanted to go to the 6, you'd be in more of like a half diminished realm. But in your piece here, it goes from this to the A flat, which is also really cool. But it's weird because it kind of like then goes back to a normal C. So, I don't know. Make of that what you will. It's just something I noticed, and I almost would have preferred if it stayed more consistent in terms of like, whenever it's going back to that C chord, I'd almost prefer if it stayed either Dorian or Aeolian, one or the other, not both. So it's a really small specific detail that I wanted to point out. But anyways, that's all I got for you. I really like the vibe. It's got like this it's chill and relaxing, but yeah, it's got like a little bit of mystery to it, which makes it fun. So it sounding MIDI was the point though. Okay, that's totally fair then. 16-bit vibe. Yeah. Okay. Well, then you're crushing it. And honestly, like that the way the melody is written totally fits into that writing style. So I think you did a really good job. Cool. All right. Sorry to everyone that I didn't get to today. I know there's quite a few of you here. What's up, Chairbor and Hanuk, and got a lot of regulars. Why So Cold? Pink Main. I mean, I got lots of names here. Amp6, Surfer Boy, Arixu, Musicato, Solar Boy. I'm sorry, y'all. Won't be able to get to you guys today. But I'll be back next Friday. Indeed, it was a stream. Appreciate y'all coming through. Good to see you here again, Eidolon. I feel like I've seen a little bit less of you recently. Maybe I'm tripping. But a stream of all time. Indeed. Thank you so much for doing these streams. They're priceless. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I was just on vacation, got back last week. Nice. Hell yeah. I was thinking like, oh, he finally got his fill of the Haywyre streams. No, and now I can guilt trip you for not being here while you're on vacation. How dare you? But yeah, thanks y'all. Really appreciate it. And I'll be back on Sunday with the normal stream, 1 to 4 p.m. This time, hopefully no emergency breaks or interruptions. So when is the wedding? That's a good point. And we keep trying to lock something in, but it's turning into a bigger process than expected. This is your fault. It is my fault. But yeah, anyways, y'all. Good to see you, and I'll be back on Sunday. Peace out. Take care. Have a good rest of your Friday/Saturday. Later.